to begin our study of design principles, I want to talk about vector illustration. And the difference between vector graphics and raster graphics is a little complicated and might be difficult to understand. But the bottom line is this. Raster graphics, which would be a program like Photoshop or some sort of photo editing program, is showing all of the pixels involved with a particular illustration or photo or whatever it is. A raster graphics program is basically doing the math between points and regenerating those pixels, and that enables you to zoom way in without ever seeing the pixels. Like it'll reform in a way that keeps the image clean, and therefore you can blow the image way up or you can shrink it down or whatever you want to do, and it'll stay clean. And so as a result, a lot of times in professional commercial artwork, professional graphic design, we do most of our work, especially in type, in some sort of vector graphics program. And today I want to begin the process of learning how to use a professional vector graphics program. This is Adobe Illustrator. You don't have to use it. You can use anything you want. Most of the ideas will translate. You just might have to do some hunting to figure out how the particular program deals with specific ideas. So I am going to do this at letter size in landscape mode as opposed to portrait mode, and hit create. Now normally I can just drag and drop a file in, but when I was testing this a moment ago, for some reason it wasn't working. So I'm going to use the place feature. So what I want to do in order to accomplish, the exercise of learning this program is I want to recreate this piece. And so in order to do that, I'm going to create a new layer so that this piece is on this layer underneath. And I'm going to dim the layer to say 20% just so that I can see it, but I'm not encumbered by it. And I'm going to lock it to make sure that I don't put anything on the layer that I don't mean to. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my polygon tool. So if I hold on this rectangle tool, I can go to the polygon tool, and I can just make a shape. I want to hold down shift so it keeps it even and square with the image. And then I'm going to change the number of corners the shape has down to 3. I'm grab my selection tool, and I'm also going to make the fill transparent so I can see the outline, but I don't want to see the fill, and that way I can place it precisely. And I'm holding down shift all the time when I'm making these edits so that I make sure everything stays as precise as possible. And then this is black, so now I'm going to change it to being a fill. What I just did then was right now the stroke is black and the fill is transparent. By clicking on this little swap feature, I can switch it so the fill is black and the stroke is transparent. And that's what I want in this particular instance. And that's really the biggest thing to know is, you have shape tools, and we want to use our shift keys in order to make sure that we're keeping our shapes as perfect as possible, if we mean for them to be as perfect as we need as possible. And otherwise, we just make shapes. So I'm going to grab this guy and I want to say Command Copy, Command Paste. I'm going to make it a transparent fill again, and then I'm going to go to Object, Transform, Rotate, and I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees, and that way I can use it for the yellow triangle that I have here. So I'm holding down shift while I reduce its scale. Now I want to make it this exact yellow, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here to my original image, and I'm going to turn off the dim images feature, and while this triangle is still highlight, I'm going to grab my eyedropper tool and I'm going to choose the yellow. Now if I turn this off, you'll note that both of those shapes are the color that I want them to be. Alright, so I'm going to redim the image. as I continue to work. So I'm going to go ahead, while I have the triangles going, I'm going to go ahead and make the rest of the triangles. So I'm going to grab this guy, Command C, Command V, copy and paste however you need to do it. I'm going to I'm going to flip the fill and the outline. I'm going to line her up as close as I can. And then while holding down the Shift key, I'm going to change the scale of this triangle. Now this triangle's weird because it's got green and yellow. So I'm going to undim and I'm going to make it green to start with. And we'll talk about the yellow section here in a minute. Okay, now I need to get this last triangle. So I'm again going to grab this triangle, copy it, paste it. I'm going to flip the stroke and the fill, and I'm going to, holding down Shift, change its scale once again so that it matches. And this one also needs to be yellow, with the exception of that section that's blue. So in this case, I already have a yellow that I've selected, so I can just grab that guy again. Okay, now I'm dealing with circles. So I'm going to change my shape tool to an ellipse tool, and I'm going to try to get this this red circle first. So once again, I need to switch it from fill to stroke so that I can see what I'm doing when I'm trying to match it up. Oh, that's actually pretty good. I'm going to undim once again, and I'm going to use my eyedropper tool to get the red happening. But now the red in the original image is behind the black triangle, so I'm going to grab it and I'm going to change its location. And now if I turn this off, you can see what we got, and I'm getting pretty close. I want this black circle happening next, so I'm going to grab the circle I already made. I'm going to hit Command C, Command V. I'm going to change it to stroke instead of fill, and I'm going to change this guy's scale while holding down the Shift key in order to match the circle. And then I'm going to make it black. But again, it's supposed to be behind, it's not supposed to be in front. So I'm going to pull it back in terms of which layer it's on as well, or it's on the same layer. I guess it's just reorganizing how the shapes are set up in terms of which is in front and which is behind. Okay, and then I've got one more circle to make before they start getting weird, and that is my blue circle. So I'm going to bring this one over here. I'm going to make the fill transparent so that I can mess around with it. And then I'm going to choose my eyedropper tool to make it blue. And now I'm going to I'm going to dim my background so I can see what I've got. Once again, I got to put that blue circle behind the green triangle. Okay. So now, oh, this black one was supposed to be in front of the yellow. I'm sorry, I missed that. Okay, great. Okay, now I start getting to the point where things are going to get weird. So I need to make this circle, and that circle is going to need to have some relationship with this triangle. So let's make the circle first and then deal with the relationship. So I'm going to grab the circle, Command C, Command V. I'm going to pop it into place. I'm going to make it a stroke instead of a fill. I'm going to change its scale so that it matches the one in the image that I am tracing. Okay. Now I'm going to undim my images, and I'm going to match the color of the circle in question. Okay, now when I look at this, what I need is this section of it that's going to be blue. So in order to do that in Illustrator, the easiest way to do it is to select the circle and the triangle at the same time. And you've got a tool in here called the Shape Builder tool. I'm going to choose it. And all I got to do is I got to click on the area that I want to be different. Then I'm going to use my selection tool and select that specific area. Then I'm going to use my eyedropper tool to select the color that I want this to match to. And now I'm getting really close to being finished with this. Okay, so I've got to do the same thing over here, and this one's more complicated than this one is. So let's figure this out. I need a red stroke circle. So here we go. I'm going to grab this circle, I'm going to copy and paste. I'm going to make it a stroke instead of a fill, and then I'm going to change its scale by holding down Shift and dragging until I match the scale of this circle. And then I need to also match the position of the circle. And as you can see, the stroke is not as thick as the stroke of the circle underneath it. So I'm going to have to change the stroke width by changing the number of pixels that represent the stroke width. And in this case, I think it's somewhere between 2 and 3. I'm going to just default to 3, and that'll be fine. Now, what I'm going to do before I move on forward here is I am going to copy this and paste it in another one and let it snap to the original so I can get back to it if I need it. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to select both the triangle and the circle, and I'm going to use the Shape Builder tool once again for this little section of green circle that I've got down here. And then I'm going to select that little section, and I'm going to change it. Oh my goodness, it's not letting me change it very easily now, is it? What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the circle that I pulled it from, and I'm just going to delete it. And that way I have this triangular section. I'm selecting all the sides of it, and I'm converting it back to a fill. And it needs to be what color again? Yellow. Okay, so it needs to be yellow. So I'm selecting this, I'm using my eyedropper tool to grab the yellow. Now I'm turning my original ellipse back on, and I am dropping it behind the triangle that I've just built. Okay, now I'm very close to having recreated this whole image. There's only one thing missing, which is this dotted circle in the background. So I'm going to use my ellipse tool, and I'm just going to, oh, there we go. I'm just going to draw a circle, and I'm going to once again only see the stroke of it, not the fill. Okay, I'm going to change the stroke color from yellow to black. Now, this is the weirdest part of the entire thing, in my opinion. There isn't like a default way to turn this into a dotted stroke that I know of. If somebody out there knows one, let me know in the comments and help me fix this. But the way that I know how to make this work is to go down here to the brush library menu, and then go to arrows, and then go to pattern arrows, and one of the pattern arrows is dotted. Several of the pattern arrows are dotted. This one seems to be the one that lines up the best to me. So I'm going to choose it, and then I'm going to change the stroke until my dots are pretty close. I think 2 or maybe 1.5 is pretty darn close. 1.5, let me try that. Yeah, 1.5 seems to be the one that lines up the best. And now I got to take that ellipse and I've got to put it behind everything because it's the furthest thing back in the image. And then I have successfully recreated this image. Now, those are the basics of how to use the shape tools in this vector graphics program. In order to really learn how to use a vector graphics program, we have a long way to go, but I think that this is a great beginning exercise to start figuring out how all of the tools work.